the newsroom here have put together this incredible animation that shows the timeline of how this fire advanced through the communities of Pacific Palisades and Malibu. Here it is, January 7th at 6:17. It was at 2,900 acres. And then on January 8th, that explosion to 15,000 acres. And then the next day, 17,000 acres as it progressed into the mountains. And then on the 9th, 19,000 acres. And you can see how far it had gotten into Malibu. And then we come to yesterday at 20,000 acres. And you can see 20 and then to 21,000 acres. But you see how far across it spread, and all the way up to the 11th, which is today at 22,660 acres. This is just information from 7:30 a.m. today.
All right. Cheers, salutations. Welcome, everybody, to Hard Lens Media. We're going to be having a very special episode for all of our viewers and subscribers and people who watch us on CAN TV. We are all very well aware of the devastating and heavy impact that this horrific fire has done on the West Coast, especially crippling Los Angeles. Who would ever think the City of Angels would be the center of hell? And there's a lot of people here at Hard Lens Media that know friends, family members, colleagues who are over there on the West Coast. And to everybody that has lost a home or a loved one or precious memories, we send our deepest condolences. And joining me here is somebody who I had the privilege of meeting at the DNC convention here in Chicago. His name is Matt Weinglass. He's an outstanding independent media commentator. He's done great collaboratory work with Craig Jardula-Pasta, who we all know did fantastic documentary series over there in Hawaii covering the Lahaina, Maui wildfires. And I wish that I had him on my show for far better times. But give it up for Matt Weinglass. Matt, you are obviously a resident of LA. You flew out from there to visit us here in Chicago. You did some great work with Pasta on the ground. For our viewers and subscribers, how are you holding up, my friend? I know that this is clearly hit you pretty close to home, as well as people that you know. So, Matt, I'm giving the floor to you.
Yes, Kit, thank you so much for the intro, and thank you for having me on to talk about this today. This does, as you said, this does hit home. It feels like it's no different than the work we've been doing here at the Homeless Left. The show, we've been, as you said earlier, we've been with you in Chicago. We go to the place where the story is. We learned that from Craig Pasta Jardula. You go to the story. You don't just report on it. You go. Yeah. And right now, LA is where the story is, and unfortunately, our city, our town, everything we know here in California has changed over the last. It hasn't even been a week. We're on day 7 right now here in LA, and we're right in the middle of this. We still, even 7 days into this, we still have 2 massive fires on either end of us where we do the show here at the home studio here, and it's the skies are filled with smoke and it's pretty gnarly here. And I'll have to say, the fact that we have come this far and it's something like this does not bring everyone together is really troubling. There's been champions in the street. I have to tell you, there's certainly been people showing up and helping, actual people, residents going to these evacuation centers, bringing food, bringing help, helping with stray animals. There's been a lot of warriors on the ground. But as far as our leadership goes, Kit, as you know, I mean, I don't even have to finish the sentence. You know how it's going to finish. The leadership has failed us 100%.
Absolutely.
And we saw this coming a long time ago. We know we have a history here in the state of wildfires, but this has been unprecedented. This has been insane. We've had 8 fires pop out of nowhere within 48 hours. And, the 2 that are still going right now were the biggest ones. They barely contained them still, even a week into this. The Palisades fire, that's where it started. This was Malibu. This was the PCH. Just massive amount of damage. I mean, we don't have the death toll yet, but there were reports immediately on the PCH. This is right on the coast. You got it's Highway 1. You got all these fancy restaurants, multi-million-dollar properties, all gone. People saying right off the bat, there were people in these high-end restaurants like Morton's, and there's a few others around there that they didn't make it out. So even right away, we're like, what do we mean they didn't make it out? Well, they're gone. and all that property's gone, and it hasn't let up. I think from what I'm seeing right now, the
Mhm.
Palisades fire has burnt. It's gone through 23 acres as of this morning, and only 14% contained. I mean, that is a tragedy in and of itself, and that's just one of the 8 fires. Uh,
Mhm.
Still currently have the Eaton fires going on in the Pasadena area. We got word 2 days ago that the Altadena Hills right above Pasadena just torched, completely
Mhm.
torched. People, friends, colleagues, their lives destroyed. I mean, it's insane. It sucks. It's we try to reach out to people, see if they're okay.
Mhm.
And this part is also very important, Kit. Again, day 7, and we still have a massive amount of people that have been evacuated, even if their property is okay, and they eventually are going to hopefully get back there and be safe and sound.
God willing, yeah.
Don't know what's going on right now. They're still in we don't know mode, and they've packed their cars. They've left. They don't know what they're coming back to. And then we got a whole massive amount of other people that are on standby to evacuate. You know what
Right.
that means? That means they've already packed up all their stuff. They packed up their cars. They've thought ahead, and they're in standby mode. They've been in standby mode for the last week. It's utterly incredibly infuriating that we can't all come together and see that we are dealing with something that's beyond. And I won't even get into the negligence and all that stuff, and we can talk about.
Actually, I think we should get into the
Okay, maybe we
negligence
should,
because
but
because
yeah.
because here's the thing that we are finding out as these 7 days of hell for Los Angeles continue to happen, and that is number one. There is the fantastic mayor Karen Bass, who was utterly silent as she was confronted on her supposed going on vacation mode, and yet she has cut the LA Fire Department budget, and now this is also coming to our attention because now even Governor Gavin Newsom, he better hope that Biden picks up that phone because he's going to need all the help he can get. California Governor Gavin Newsom cut $100 million for fire prevention before deadly wildfires. I want to remind everybody, as of right now, there's even private service firefighters, as well as an increase of prison firefighters who are right now on the front lines. And as this story was going on, especially in the early days, you had firefighters saying that we cannot maintain it or control it. This was the perfect storm. So embattled California Governor Gavin Newsom slash funding earmarked for fighting wildfires by more than $100 million this fiscal year, to a review of the state budgets found. The lefty polls fiscal 2025 budget signed in June has eliminated $101 million from 7 wildfire and forest resilient programs, which, look, I'm not a longtime resident of California, but I read the news, I watch the news, and there's always every year a wildfire happening. That $100 million could have been used, and perhaps, dare I say, maybe have made a bigger impact in stopping the fires. I don't know, but I think that money could have done some good. This includes cutting $5 million from California's fire, now $129 million budget for fuel reduction teams, including funds used by the state's National Guard for vegetation management work aimed at reducing threats of fires igniting and spreading. Matt, your governor, and the mayor of LA seem to be on the sinking ship. What exactly happened with these reservoirs and the fact that the budgets are being cut? You would think that they would make sure these reservoirs are filled, the fire hydrants are working, and also on top of that, there would be the keyword money used to make sure that these institutions and programs work effectively to protect the people.
It's infuriating, kid. I don't know how many times I'm going to be using that word today, but my God, the fact that we had specifically at the Palisades. This is right on the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and you can't get this reservoir filled. It's bare bones, and we've had the ability to fill this for the last 10 years. There was a Prop 1 that was passed in California 10 years ago that funded all these new reservoirs, and this one like a whole decade later is still sitting there, hasn't even started construction. And you mentioned the budget. We have the budget to do this. So this is purposely not being done. And Newsom is 100% responsible for this. And he keeps deflecting. He keeps pretending that people calling it out, people like Trump, Elon, oh, they're lying. They're meanies. They're bullying him. And he says, we're not going to play politics. And every time this guy opens his mouth, he brings up Trump and Elon. He can't talk about the problem. He keeps talking about them and saying, oh, we're not going to politicize. Well, that's all you're doing. Every single time you open your mouth, You're saying Trump, Trump, Trump. We talk about living free in someone's head. That's what our governor is doing right now with Trump and Elon. And he's making the residents of California, I can't stress this enough. There's a lot of people in fight or flight mode, and they still have their cell phones. They're going and they're scrolling. They're seeing the governor talk, the governor they voted for, and they're seeing him blame this on Trump and Elon. And somehow they're falling for that. And like, I don't blame the victims of this. This is mass. This is a brainwashing technique we've seen in California for years and years. We've seen the vote blue no matter who crowd stand behind their leadership with no ability to question it. And it's so sad, Kit, to see them continue to not question these moments where Gavin Newsom, you are the governor. You should be the one responsible. Why are you even mentioning Trump or Elon or anyone else's name right now? Tell us why that reservoir has been dry. Tell us. We need to know, but you don't want to talk about it. It's insane. And then, of course, yeah, our mayor, Karen Bass, too. She can't even open her mouth. When she got off a plane, she was out of the country when this happened. She comes back from Ghana, gets off a plane, confronted by reporters, and they say, "What do you have something to tell the Southern California residents right now? Mayor Bass, do you have something to tell your constituents right now?" Completely dead silent. She was mute for minutes on end, had nothing to say. That tells me she's worse than idiotic. She has handlers that told her it's not time to talk yet. So now we understand how our leadership is bought and sold and paid for, and they do not work for us. And this is a clear curtain back moment that we are seeing in real time. And there's just so many people that can't see it with us that are right here suffering right now, Kit.
And obviously, LA suffers from a homelessness crisis. Owning a home or even having a studio apartment costs an arm and a leg. And, there's a lot of people who are saying, well, this just reminds us of what happened in Maui. And if we all look back at the devastating wildfires in Lahaina, in Maui, what did we see upon the horizon? Venture capitalists swooping on down, doing the land grab. And the people in Lahaina are still waiting for that one-time $700. Perhaps they got it. Most likely they didn't. And that's the real truth of it, because, again, the people of Hawaii were left behind. And now the people of LA, very shockingly similar, are being left behind as well. And these politicians, especially Gavin Newsom, look, there's a lot to be critical about Elon Musk and Trump. And Trump will be president in 7 days. He'll be sworn in on January 20th. The buck stops with you, Governor Gavin Newsom. And yet this governor here wants to pat himself on the back. And I want to pull up this video here where he's talking about the reservoirs. Brilliant job, Governor.
Together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation to understand what was happening with that local reservoir.
But he knew, folks. They all knew that the fire hydrants and reservoirs were empty. I don't know. Maybe when you see an empty reservoir, you spit in it, you hear a ping at the bottom. That's not really a good thing.
That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy.
So that's the governor doing damage control. Don't worry, we're gonna have the smiling mayor. Matt, how do you feel about Gavin Newsom wagging his finger at Trump all the while this was happening on his watch, and also cutting $100 million, technically $101 million from the California fire budget?
I mean, look, if the reporter there had not followed up with that question and said, what this particular one, we were just talking about, this one in the Palisades, is bone dry. If he hadn't followed up, that would have just been Gavin Newsom standing there lying, and he knew he was lying. He was saying, Trump, and they're telling us that we don't have water. Yeah, they are, because you don't. And well, that was not, I mean, that wasn't exactly the one he was referring to. No, but you just misled the viewers just now. And again, if that reporter didn't follow up on it, then you wouldn't have been able to clarify what you really meant. It was the other one he was talking about. No, that's what you were trying to tell people. You were lying to them, saying that you had it under control. And then when it came down to it, you had to admit that you are looking into this thing that you should have been. You are the guy. Like you said, kid, the buck stops with him. And you want to talk about the cuts of the fire budget. I mean, this thing is insane. When you look at the money that has been swindled in this state all over the place. I mean, before New Year's, we just did a story here on the Homeless Left about the homelessness budget that was allocated. It was $26 billion completely missing, completely gone. No one knows where it is. There's some reporters saying there's a Cayman Islands account out there that Gavin Newsom might be associated with. So we were already on him before New Year's at the end of last year. Not only that, did you guys know? I want to remind viewers, if they don't know this, or this is the first time you're hearing this, we were put in a state of emergency by Gavin Newsom at the end of last year for bird flu. I mean, people don't even know that happened. And now we're in a real state of emergency. So this guy is all over the place. He's buying $9 million homes for no reason. And anytime somebody has a chance to ask him anything, let alone a local reporter, an Anderson Cooper flying out there to do a theater piece with him in front of somebody's house that's burning down right behind him, they won't even ask him anything about this stuff. They treat him like he's some sort of a good guy hero that's fighting the Trumpers, fighting the MAGAs. Trump has nothing to do with what's happening in our state right now. These people are the ones that need to be held accountable. These are the people that need to answer for what they've done. And we haven't even talked about the insurance problem, kid. I mean, this thing goes so far. Again, I'm going to use the word infuriating.
Could you elaborate a little bit on what's happening with State Farm? Because we're hearing, there's two different sides to this. One, State Farm has indicated that because of California's and the various city and state and county laws that they're unable to really properly even insure these homes. But at the same time, too, this happened like months in advance before this horrific fire even took place. And now State Farm, a business that says you're in good hands, basically dropped everybody's hands and ran off. So what happens now? Because so many people now are probably going to pay out of pocket. And if they weren't facing homelessness now, they're in it.
So yeah, these reports are very accurate about State Farm. There were other companies as well, but this was the main one that we know that there's been people that have been paying their homeowners insurance, their fire insurance for years and years and years. Their entire time they've owned their home, years and years. And then all of a sudden, sometime in the middle of 2024, they just got it pulled. State Farm says, no, we're just not going to cover you anymore. This happened to so many people here in California, specifically in the Malibu area, all over the place. And so the fact that you're going to get dropped by your insurance company and then this happens, somebody knew this was going to happen. The writing was on the wall. So if the insurance company, and we know how these companies work, they weigh the pros and cons. And we know this, they do this with people's health too. If you rack up too much of a bill, they're going to drop you. And so again, this goes back to this problem. We've gone down the Luigi rabbit hole. We understand that these companies have the ability to say no and to deny coverage. And people don't understand how that works. This isn't because the homeowner messed up or the person with the coverage didn't pay on time or is trying to get something they didn't qualify for. No, these companies just drop you for no reason. And now what we're seeing is the start of, like you mentioned, Lahaina. This is what we're going to see next here in California. It's a massive land grab. Okay. Now, look, we can talk about why this happened, how it happened, but we know that's coming because that's the system we live in. It's a profit over people system. It's the failures of the capitalist model where the vultures come in and they take up the property. What else are the people going to do? They just lost everything. They still own their property, but they're going to get these calls from the banks. BlackRock, they're going to say, hey, let me take this problem off your hands. Since your insurance dropped you, here's the check for 10% of value of your home. Take it or leave it. How many people are going to leave it? Not many. They're going to take that deal. And then then the banks are going to own everything. And I guess that was maybe the plan the whole time.
Also, I want to make a quick correction because somebody said, "Hey, Kit, stop it with the you're in good hands." That's Allstate. State Farm is we are farmers. I apologize for that. But hey, insurance companies, does anybody really give a damn about them? Because,
It-
like, at this point, so my apologies on that. But still, anyone that thought that they were in good hands with State Farm were still dropped. So I want to make that quick correction. That's why I love
I
my
think
audience. So there you go.
I think it was like a good neighbor.
Sure.
State Farm is there.
Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah. Well,
so,
great neighbor. Where you at?
yeah,
Where you
not
at?
not the greatest neighbor when push comes to shove. You showed your true colors there, neighbor.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they did. You know what they did was they saw the fire, they snuck out, made sure they didn't tell anyone in the neighborhood, and closed the gate behind them, like how Homer Simpson did when the nuclear fire plant was
Mm.
on a fire drill, and he closed the door right behind him. And if that was a real fire, obviously people would have been burnt. But anyways, nonetheless, hey, adding a little bit of humor in this bleak time. We're already 13 days into 2025, and none of this was on anybody's bingo card. But I think a lot of people are also pointing out that, if it could happen not only in LA, it's quite clear it can happen anywhere, any kind of natural disaster or horrific man-made disaster. We got East Palestine, Ohio. We got Flint, Michigan. And you know what? I'm even going to throw in Chicago here because there's lead in our drinking water. Plus, how myself and Daniel, we did not one but two documentaries about regulated, quote, regulated toxic waste going into Lake Michigan. You got the devastating fires that happened in Lahaina. And I just want to remind everybody, too, that there are people in North and South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia that are still in limbo months after that devastating hurricane that impacted those states and all the outlying areas as well. So you have people who are wondering what's going to happen next. But it is a failure of leadership. And I have no idea how LA is ever going to recover. And already, I want to give a huge shout out to one of my moderators, Mastermind Hour, who brought up the fact that there's a petition coming out for this mayor. And look, I am critical of Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. I thought he was a pretty terrible mayor. We also got another. We got a whole sad history of terrible mayors here in Chicago. But this one here, I mean, I don't want to say that maybe LA took the belt from Chicago, but your mayor here, why she is smiling and why she is thinking that people are going to forget her minutes of silence is beyond me, because there's this video that's been going viral too.
Angelinos, we're still going through it. And to any of you and all of you that have experienced a loss, the grief, the anger, the just utter shock. I've seen the devastation. It is unbelievable the amount of loss that people have experienced. But we have to get through this crisis, and I know that we will. I was at the Sylmar command post today, and I saw the work of our first responders and how they've been able to defeat the fires in certain areas. We know we still have much more to go, and we know the winds are going to kick up again.
Maybe your job as mayor, you should have made sure those fire hydrants were working, the reservoirs were filled up, and you shouldn't have cut the budget. But hey, what do I know? I mean, it's not like we've seen fire after fire hit California.
But we got to stick together. We got to stand strong. And then we have to rebuild our city. We're the nation's second largest city, one of the greatest cities in the world. And we stay together and we will rebuild an amazing city. So thank you, Angelinos. And my thoughts and prayers are out to all of you that are.
Okay, we're going to stop there. When I hear thoughts and prayers, I get a big middle finger right there. By the way, Pam K36 says actress and not even a good one. We've got Cat Terrell, hands in pocket, big body language sign of do nothing actor. And of course, Karen Bass is so inappropriate. She looks like a psychopath. And also Black Action Production. She means the work of the inmates. By the way, 30% of California's state firefighting force are inmates. All right. And you know what? We salute all the firefighters, including the inmates, because they're putting their lives on the line to prevent these fires, and they are facing off against a monumental task, and they're doing everything they can, but their leadership, Governor Gavin Newsom, and of course, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, failed them to give them the tools necessary to win this fight. So people can blame Trump or Elon as much as they want. They're not in charge yet. They will be, and I hope they write a big check to the people of LA and everyone else that's been hit by the fires who are now homeless. Because if we're able to buy Greenland, God damn it, we can help out and bail out the American people. Your mayor, this is a story that's going to be happening in your backyard, Matt. Enlighten us about this fantastic mayor of yours and her damage control.
It's happening in all of our backyards here. Some of our very close friends are dealing with this right now. This mistrust, this uneasiness, not just the fact that the fires are sweeping through their neighborhoods right now. We have friends up on the Sherman Oaks Hills right now that don't know what's happening. A lot of them have been evacuated. An elder friend of mine who has a house on the Sherman Oaks Hills, he was posting on social media the other day. He's not going to leave until the last moment because he wants to battle these fires himself, because he knows the fire trucks aren't coming up there. He knows they're not going to be there. And there's been word about, having, if you can fight off these embers before they hit the power lines, before they hit your property, you can save your house. I mean, there's people sharing those little techniques. But this older gentleman, he's not going to be able to do that. He needs to pack and get out. We told him that. I don't know what's happening with him right now, but he doesn't trust the fire department's going to be there. Why? Because we don't have the manpower. We don't, because we've implemented these horrific laws. We know that Kamala Harris, when she was here, she was putting the workforce into the inmate population, forcing innocent people to do this prison work, $2 an hour, $2 a day, or whatever it was. Innocent people having to do this work, forced. And I say forced because they were like, hey, do you want to participate in society? You better grab a hose. Well, guess what? There are firemen grabbing hoses this week, and the hoses have no water coming out of it. Do you know how effing scary that must be? That you're out there and you're trying to save people's houses, and there's no water pressure. The fire hydrants are not working. This is insane that we have this problem still. We've had these issues with previous wildfires in California. We need to have this thing fixed right now. And again, here's Karen Bass standing there in her plumber outfit with her hands in her pocket, and she with this fake smile, as if we're going to build back LA. No, that's not happening. It's about the banks taking the property from the people, and that's it. So we want to build back California. You're going to build back California, the corporation. It's California Incorporated. That's what you're building back. And these, I feel sorry for all these people, even the millionaires on the hills. I kind of feel bad for them. The billionaire class is turning on the millionaire class. It's actually really insane seeing these celebrities' houses go up in flames, and they're not going to have any recourse either. It's pretty wild. And I will mention that the one fire that they did happen to put out just in time before it hit Hollywood Boulevard, but they had evacuated the Hollywood Hills. All the Hollywood Hills that were scorched back on, I think it was Tuesday night, Wednesday night, totally scorched. There's houses just completely gone to the ground, and we don't have the manpower to do this. So looking at Karen Bass doing a video like this is disgusting, because how many times has she rehearsed this in the mirror and she still can't get it right? She is a bad actor, as they say, on multiple levels.
I got something for you here. So here's what I recently pulled up before we went live, because I found it interesting. She had her hands in her pocket the whole time. But here is at least the concept of what it means when you have hands in your pocket by body language. When someone keeps their hands in their pockets, it generally indicates a feeling of nervousness, insecurity, or a desire to appear casual, potentially signifying a lack of confidence or discomfort in the situation, and can sometimes be interpreted as sign of being closed off or hiding something depending on context. Key points about hands in pocket body language: negative connotations. In most situations, having hands in pockets is seen as a negative body language, suggesting anxiety, disinterest, or a lack of engagement. That kind of explains the mayor's action so far. Hiding intention, since hands are a key part of nonverbal communication, concealing them in pockets can be interpreted as an attempt to hide one's true feelings or intentions. Context matters. While generally considered a negative, the meaning can vary based on the situation and culture. For example, casually placing one's hand in the pocket may not be seen as a major issue in informal settings. But if you're the mayor and you're speaking to the people, I just want to point this out here. 319,000 people are under evacuation orders or warnings so far. Again, the numbers will rise up. 40,000 acres have been burned, over 6,000 structures destroyed. Those numbers will rise up, folks. So these are not these are the current numbers, but it will just expect the numbers to tick, 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 tick up. And I want to just once again say to everyone, we do send our deepest condolences to everyone that has been severely impacted by this. But now, Matt, what comes next? Because the fire, there's a couple fires that have been contained or put out, but the war is still going on. What is the future of LA? Because I don't think we've ever seen a city this devastated by wildfires or even that fire in general, save for the infamous Chicago fire way back in the day. But LA, its future, its people, is there a future? What is the political landscape looking like? Because how is it that once these fires are done, that there isn't going to be a call to recall Governor Gavin Newsom or have Mayor Karen Bass step down? Because these two are responsible. Plus, the fire department leadership also has to be held accountable. There are so many people that knew that the reservoirs were empty and things weren't working. This can never happen again.
Unfortunately, Kit, I have to say my prediction is I can't give the people enough credit. They're gonna hold these people accountable here because we are a vote blue no matter whose state. We will always be that. There's no way that the state will turn on these people. These are their team leaders. These are their tribal leaders. They will do whatever they can, whatever mental gymnastics they can to still make this Trump's fault, to still make this the MAGA's fault that this happened. And I hate to be so negative about it, but here's a sign that they can get away with that mindset, and no one's gonna stop them thinking otherwise. And here's one of the main differences between California and we talk about Lahaina, we talk about North Carolina. You mentioned earlier, Kit, the $750 checks. So the difference in California is you have the Biden administration, which is on its way out in a week, but the Biden administration has the opportunity right now to present in a theatrical way, and you already see it happening, present that we got Californians back. This fake phone calls back and forth between Newsom and Biden. They're pretending that Biden's going out of his way. He said, he actually used the term 180 days. We're gonna cover every cost for every single thing that needs to be spent. We're going to cover it. By we, he means the taxpayer, obviously, but we're going to cover everything for 180 days. He never said that about anywhere else. He never said that about Lahaina. He never said that about North Carolina. Why the difference? Well, as we know, the state of California, specifically Southern California and LA and Hollywood, is where the majority of the donor class for the Democratic Party resides. So you have to hook up your donor class. And so whatever that looks like, and he was vague. He just said, we're going to cover 180 days. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? We don't know. But we have a lot of Californians that heard him say that, and they're super excited, and they're ready to tell all their hated Trump friends that they're no longer friends with. They're ready to tell them, you see, our president has our back. He said 180 days. And then we say back to that, what about the people in Lahaina? What about the people in North Carolina? Is there some sort of echelon of value of people that we're supposed to accept, that Californians are just worth a little bit more? Is that what we're trying to say here? Are we supposed to be excited about that? The people in North Carolina are still freezing. They don't have homes. They're underwater. You got Lahaina. They're screwed. We know that. So here we are trying to make sense of what are we saying when our heroes are coming to save us? What's going to happen in the future? I think these properties are all being bought off. I think we're going to see the biggest upward transfer of wealth we've seen since the CARES Act. That's coming right now. And this disaster is the largest disaster in the history of California. And probably I've seen it be listed as the 7th biggest disaster in the history of the planet. I heard those numbers. This is insane. So I don't know what's coming next, but I do know that people's mindsets are probably not going to change much from where they were going into this.
After hearing this, I mean, you got to protect the donor class if you're part of the political system. I mean, that's just what we see. And, I'm not saying that as like, oh, that's what you got to do, but that's what these politicians will do. And to your point of, is there a group of people that are more protected here in the United States? The answer is, yeah, it's the donor class. It's the ruling class. And it does call into question then to anyone that is a regular person working a regular job, 9 to 5, trying to do your best to survive. It should tell you where you stand in this society. When a nation has abandoned its people and yet only caters to a small portion of it, that is evidence to show that said ruling institutions do not have real legitimacy over us, because now we're seeing a political party, and parties to be more clear here, Democrats and Republican politicians, who will not only bail out the banks and Wall Street, all right, because for disasters that they created, but when people, regular people, are impacted by these dangerous natural disasters, man-made disasters, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be alone. And that is evidence to stuff we've been talking about for 8 years. We are an empire in full decline. This is an empire that doesn't have the people's best interests at heart. And when the people aren't being protected, well, then, gee, corporate media, gee, politicians, all these institutions of authority, why is it that your approval rating has been below 11, 10, 9%? I mean, why is it that people just don't trust the news anymore or what their politicians are saying? And I want to pull this up here, too, because, hopefully, maybe, Matt, if more people become more aware of just how sick the system is, they can call out these politicians and confront them. I've been sharing our video segment on social media over the weekend where Gavin Newsom gets confronted by this woman, and you hear the pain and suffering in her voice. And I want to play it in its full entirety.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I
it
don't
doesn't-
believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So
There's
let's
no
get
cell
it.
service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry.
You know what he could do? He could maybe show up the camera like, hey, look. I mean, again, he doesn't maybe share the private number, but hey, look, I'm trying to reach out to the president. Show it. Like you called him 5 times. You hear the pain in her voice. She's not the only one. She is wondering where is the support?
Sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing to school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
It's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To fill
everything
the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact
Yes,
information?
right there.
You hear the pain. You hear the anger. She's not the only one. And I want to hold out for the hope that perhaps you're wrong a little bit on this, Matt, that people aren't just so hypnotized with the vote blue no matter who crowd. I mean, yes, the donors, to be clear, are going to be with their political party, but the people matter. But then there's that aspect of a lot of these people are now homeless. And in order to vote in America, you have to have a home address. I want you to be wrong. But then again, too, it's the same time as well. Oh, wait, I've seen this story happen before. I shouldn't be surprised. I should pretend to be surprised. But doing this now, going on now for 7 years, 8 years now, I just can't see how people can just still be loyal and obedient to such an abusive system. But we are a country, to quote Jimmy Dore, we are the children of alcoholics, and we're used to such an abusive system. Matt, I want to give you the floor.
So let me be clear, because I think you are tapping into something hopeful. There is something hopeful here. I was talking a lot today about the loyalists, the people that will never look at anything differently. They're tribal members. They'll always be tribal members. However, We do know there's a lot of people that were before the fires that were already frustrated. They've stayed quiet. They might have stayed home on election day in November. They might have voted for a third party or a write-in. Who knows? So there's people that already were suspicious. They've been quiet. This could be the moment that those people that have been quiet might start getting vocal. That's something to look forward to, because we need more people to speak out against this captured system, against this duopoly, which is really a uniparty that controls all of us and pits us together all the time. This red versus blue, we're sick of it. We started this show a year and a half ago called The Homeless Left because we feel that the left has let us down. The things that we believed in were abandoned by this party. We are no longer part of this party. We're no longer playing tribal politics anymore. So in a sense, we feel homeless. Now, a year and a half later, here we are in California, the Vote Blue No Matter Who state capital, and the homeless element that we named the show after, in a figurative way, has now literally happened. And you have people who are literally homeless now in the streets in this party that they no longer feel part of, and the party has actually let them down. They can see it in their true flesh and blood. They can see it, and they're ready to speak up and be vocal and say, enough, we've had enough. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore, and we're going to tear down this house, and we're going to build a new town. This is it. That is it.
Mhm.
So this is a new opportunity for a real populist movement where we can connect the left and the right, people that have felt abandoned by wherever they come from, and really start to build a new town, a new way of life, figuratively and literally. So let's all be homeless together and move into that new direction. So that's what I hope for. So I do appreciate your optimism in that part of it, Ken.
Yeah, you know something, Matt. Look, I know that you got a very busy schedule today. You are going to be on Pasta and Fiorella's show very soon today as well, and you know, I do hope that everything turns out well, for not only for yourself, but for all the people in your area. I hope those fires don't go anywhere near you guys at all, period. But I'm encouraging everyone, please support Matt Weinglass, follow him, follow his work on the homeless left. You know, he himself has wrongly been censored and suppressed, and I think we all know where I stand on that. All right, and I despise censorship. I despise demonetization and people being deplatformed. I don't like it at all, period. I hate it. And Matt Weinglass is one of the dauntless few. He did some great work in Chicago. I had a great time meeting him face to face, hanging out with Pasta and everybody else here. I wish we were speaking in better times, but you know, we're already in the early part of 2025. Maybe things will get better, and maybe this is the point where people wake up. So, real quick, Matt, I know you got to head on out because you got other projects to do, other interviews to do as well. But where can our viewers, subscribers follow you, support your work? Where can they go?
So yeah, you mentioned, you can see in the title here, the Homeless Left on Rumble. That's our home base. When you talked about us being censored, yes, we were terminated on YouTube for having these type of honest conversations. So that the Homeless Left is no longer allowed on YouTube. However, we have recently started a new account. Oh yeah, there's that's our Twitter, my Twitter. You can follow me at Matt Weinglass. We have now recently, just very, very recently, just at the beginning of this year, like just less than 2 weeks ago, we started a new YouTube channel. I'm going to let people know that we're trying it in a different, we're going to try to battle them in a different way. It's our backup channel. It's THL Presents. So that's we just got it going. So you guys are watching on YouTube, you can look for THL Presents, and we're up and running. And let's hope we can make this one last a little longer than the last one. But yeah, hey, we're not going to stop battling these guys. We're going to keep fighting the censorship industrial complex. We're going to keep fighting the media propaganda machine. We're going to keep challenging power, speak truth to power. We're not going to quit. We might be homeless, but there's power in numbers. Whether we have to gather on the street and huddle on the sidewalk, we don't care. We're gonna keep fighting and speaking truth to power.
You have an ally here in Chicago. I can call you a friend, and I could call you somebody that I respect, and keep on doing the work. Stay dedicated to it. I want to have you back on, maybe when things are a little bit more calm. Obviously, I love to be back on your show as well. I think this year's been, and last year's been, very stressful for a lot of us. So everyone, please support Matt Weinglass. Matt, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us here. And please be safe. That's an order, or else. Okay, man. Just please
Definitely.
be safe.
Can,
All right,
can I
brother?
say you do excellent work at Hardlands Media. You are one of our inspirations of why we got started in the first place. We saw that resilience, that courage you've shown the whole way these last 7-8 years. And yeah, you set a great example. So I want you to know that. And I do appreciate you and consider you a friend as well. And we'd love you back on the Homeless Left soon as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, I think I'm gonna leave this as a final note because our next guest is just entered onto the show. But M-Band said, "Homeless but not helpless. LA will rise again. The people of California, the American people, will stand united because we got to stand up against incompetent leadership, horrific politicians that have abandoned the people." Matt, thank you so much for your time. We're going to switch things up and bring in our next guest. All the best to you, Matt. Remember, homeless, not helpless. We will stand up. We will rise again because that's how Americans do things. No matter what coast you're on, east, west, north, south, quitting is not in our nature. Never has been, never will be.
Now what you're following, that's idolatry, that's just fake. And all that wallowing that you tolerate, that's not faith. The kings of colony watched autonomy make our graves. The kings of colony know no policy, only rape. Now once you fall asleep, it won't bother you what they say. But the kings of colony, while they slaughter, they still complain. We say, please color me, still too solemnly, still too plain. All hail economy, praise the pharmacy, seas in flames. They're buying up Hawaii, and the smoke's not even cleared. Those vultures smelled the fire and an enterprise appeared. Investment opportunities where melted down communities leave vacant space BlackRock has been lusting for years. The council meets in private and they don't discuss survivors. Concerns among construction groups are all Lahaina hears. They'll wander through your city with this mocking sword of pity next to Oprah and her camera crew who tore the Trail of Tears, where footage flows as freely as the stream of liquid steel and the pools of pure aluminum that trickle down your wheels. And Biden's here to say he knows exactly how it feels, cause he had a kitchen fire once and had to miss a meal. And people still believe that piece of shit deserves your vote, like he's not why supplies are being smuggled in by boat, like he's not why our citizens were forced to stay and roast. And he can't unfreeze your funding, folks, cause Azov needs it most. I'll bet my every dollar Biden watched it with a smile. I'll bet he knows the whereabouts of every missing child. He's just the kind of man who lives to trample something tribal, collecting culture's corpses just to throw them on the pile. Like he and all his buddies didn't dream about the day when those who dared defy the donor class were cleared away, when home insurance triples and you can't afford to stay, and your land falls to the hands of those whose windfall fan the flames. The state will take Lahaina and they'll bastardize its name, and tourism will swarm it all the same. You see, the state we left Lahaina shows the ground rules of the game, the planes that in the night ignite the planes. And if questions raised that reckon the potential use of lasers, I suggest you take a closer shave by way of Occam's razor. And if those civilians stood between this country and its gains, then there's really nothing further to explain. Because you may know this already, if you truly know our past, but it ain't the first occasion and it will not be the last where Americans are kettled in and made to bear the blast, are barricaded in and left for ash. How many in Lahaina now are lying there awake and still can hear the city we left leveled in our wake? They still hear all the people that we let the fire take, instructed from above to stay in place. So look to the horizon, because a fire comes for you. Desire made incarnate of the power-hungry few who instructed the police to not let anybody through, to barricade them in, and so they do.